Hello everybody, welcome back to another Dragon Ball Legends discussion video. My name is DFree, and in this video we're going to go ahead and talk about what I believe the top 5 characters in Legends as of right now are, and I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you are new, hit that subscribe button to stick around for more content on Dragon Ball Legends as well as other things here on the channel. That being said, I want to just get this out of the way in the very beginning of the video. I will have a couple of honorable mentions, but my list is just going to be 5 units, but it's not going to be in any sort of order. You know, that's up for you guys to decide, because honestly, I kind of struggle for that. Like when it comes down to the top 1, 2, 3, I'm like, you know, these are good in different scenarios, which is what I love about this game. A lot of these characters are very good in certain matchups against other top tier characters or in different scenarios, right? So I'm not going to commit to that, but I will commit to my 5 just in general. Put it however you want to. And again, this is just my opinion. Feel free to disagree, but I hope that you guys do join the discussion down below in the comment section if you disagree or if you agree, and let me know why, for example, because I will be in there checking that stuff out. So anyways, like I said, no order whatsoever, but my top 2 honorable mentions, I only have 2, is I'm going to start off with this Trunks right here. The reason why is because anybody that can do one of 2 things, in fact, he actually does both of them, but I feel like he's going to be a lot better when we get more Hybrid Saiyan support and stuff like that, like more characters that are just better in general. But as you know, because this is a team-oriented game, but just in general, as far as the character is concerned, anybody that can do what he does automatically is one of the best characters in the game. Any character that can draw an additional arts card, this guy is able to draw the Shining Slash, and those are really good. They're cheap, 20 energy cost, amazing. And then any character that can do cover damage, like those 2 things are insane. So yes, there will be other cover damage units on the list, but starting off with Trunks, amazing unit. He just missed my 5, basically. So moving on from him, we have Frieza. And part of Frieza's issue for me is I recognize his value. I still kind of feel like he's another one of those characters that's better in the future when we get more options for more teams, maybe more tag support and things of that nature. But my issue with Frieza in particular could be that I haven't play tested with him enough in general personally, because I'm still working on mine. But I acknowledge that he has one of the most insane abilities in the game. Being able to fly through those blasts is such a game changer. Like these new batches of characters like the Bardock, the Frieza, the 17, and these units, they are able to do really game changing things. And Frieza is no exception to that rule. He is able to just kind of change the pace of a game, which is one of the things that he is best at doing. And he has a nasty key restore speed. He launches multiple freaking special arts against you, and he does a lot of damage. Like, Frieza's really good. So, a little bit different reason than the Trunks, but nonetheless, honorable mention there. So now we're going to actually commit to my 5. So, I'm going to actually just kind of go off, you know, the list that they're, the order that they're in here. So to begin, I'm going to start off with Bardock. So Bardock is an amazing unit, specializes in strike damage, so that's one of the things that he's going to be able to do for you primarily. He also has over 40k, right, as a stat at 1500. So if you look at this graph, he's really powerful. He also has an insane amount of HP, so he's going to be living and doing a lot of damage. Also in tandem with units like Shallot and the Extreme Raditz, you can buff up his HP, and then in tandem with, well, himself, because they actually gave him another one of these, which there's actually, I think, 3 of these in the game right now, 2 of them, I don't know. But in tandem with other units that can buff up his strike attack, again, he's going to do a lot of damage. Like a unit like this guy right here helps him out a lot. So, that being said, what makes Bardock so amazing? Now, aside from the fact that he has really nice stats, he has a solid key restore, you know, the numbers here are decent, lower critical rate chance, but if we move down, his best ability is the fact that he has this right here. So all enemies are switch restricted for 10 timer counts, and plus 40% to strike damage inflicted for 10 counts. Let me go ahead and break this down for you. And I've actually went ahead and played with all these units because I wanted to give you guys as much accurate info as possible. This right here is a death sentence for a character like Broly, for example, especially if you have limit breaks or a lot of soul boost investment in your Bardock. He is basically going to solo that Broly by himself with just a few strike arts cards. Not just a few, but he'll be able to do it in this time period, especially if you were able to do any damage prior, right? I typically always do that whenever I can get the switch into the Broly, because I typically don't lead with the Broly. I then from there immediately go into the main ability, lock him in, and then of course the crazy thing about this is it also increases his own strike damage. Like this first part would have been good enough, but they give him a 40% spike Okay, so he is really, really, really good. And the reason why they give him that is probably because if they have one opponent left, I mean, it's a worthless main ability. It becomes basically the worst main ability in the game if they can't actually switch. So yeah, they gave him that. And you have to wait 15 timer counts, so you kind of have to play a little bit before you get to that point, which is why I said it's possible you might have already, just keying in on Broly, done some good damage against that character. Other scenarios and other characters this is good against, any blue character in general, or any character that wants to do things like cover damage, you know, and they want to switch in and out constantly, you kind of get the opportunity to do that. And this in tandem with something like the Rising Rush, which is a busted mechanic in the game, you know, you can lock them in and make sure that you hit that target, because a lot of times if it's a character that they're trying to save, they will switch out. But no, it's like, yo, you can't switch. And amazing. So I really like that, and that's the best thing that he does. Everything else geared towards more strike, right? He gets 30% here, 35% here if this condition's met for the secondary part of this unique ability, plus 20% to key restore speed. He does a lot of damage with his abilities, plus 50% to key recovery, which is insane, and he cancels any sort of downgrades on his abilities, like debuffs, basically. He also even has double arts cards that are strike, and then to top it all off, he has a tag boost for Saiyans, which, again, is great in tandem with other units that have the same thing or need strike damage. So Bardock is flat out just phenomenal. One of the best characters in the game, like I said. So moving on from him, we have Android 17, who's good for kind of like the Frieza and Trunks comparison. They're good for different reasons. Because Frieza wanted to do a lot of damage primarily. Trunks was able to do damage and still be a defensive type unit. That's kind of what this type of unit is here too. And remember I said anybody that can do any sort of cover damage, right, is automatically one of the best characters in the game. And because that's the only way you defend in this game, to clarify, because there is no block button, there is nothing like that. So the only ways you can actually, you know, defend in the game is by having element factor on your side, by having a unit that's, you know, got the right color attribute in opposition to the opponent, or using constant switching, which is kind of the only way really to defend, which is why Bardock is so insane on a side note. And utilizing cover damage reduces damage received by 40% until the combo ends when changing cover. So that means you switch in mid-combo, your unit will take reduced damage. And I've done this in tandem with them trying to Rising Rush me, and I just won't take a lot of damage, you know? Things like that. Now, I don't know if it technically applies to that, but it feels like it does, it seems like it does, and if it does, that's insane. But cover damage is one of the best mechanics in the game simply because it's the only reliable form of defense that you have. So that just adds an increased onus on that. But that's one of the best things he does. But also, this character, he's really good at blast damage. He's able to output a solid amount of damage as well by himself. So don't just get confused into thinking that he's only good defensively. But if we want to go back to defense, this guy has the ability to draw his own barrier card. So here's what this breaks down. Nullifies the enemy's attacks, excluding certain moves like the Rising Rush. That's the only thing, basically, that he can't. I think maybe like Frieza's ultimate, which is insane, too. Frieza's ultimate, his Death Ball or whatever, is able to cancel out most of the attacks in the game, which is another thing that's insane about Frieza on a side note. I kind of brushed him to the side. Didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on the honorable mentions, but Frieza's amazing, seriously. Anyways, he's able to do that, excluding certain moves. If the enemy is at close range while attacks are nullified, they'll be knocked back to long range, which is great utility because they can't stay up close, which gives you time to do things like use another barrier, gives you time to do things like switch if you want to, gives you time to maybe recover a little bit of that vanish meter to where you can vanish again. There's great utility in knocking them back if they were right up on you, right? Otherwise, +5 cost to own special arts cost per use. So how this breaks down is if you level up his ability, it goes down to being a 9 cost, which right now, it might go a little bit higher, I don't know, but right now mine is a 9 cost. But anyways, naturally it's a 10. So ultimately, you see right here the levels, the cost per level right here. Ultimately, how this breaks down is he has the ability to use it, and after 2 uses, it goes into being a 15 cost. Now, that is one of the cheaper green cards in the game, and for such a good ability, it's crazy to me. Like, I think that this guy is just amazing. Like, he's able to do a lot of different things defensively that give him a lot of viability, especially in tandem with characters that can maybe heal him up or things of that nature. And then he also has the blast damage to boot, you know? Main ability draws a special arts card next. Pfft, really? He can just draw the special? And then plus 35% more blast damage. Amazing. Amazing. Special move is special arts. It's a special arts. I'm pretty sure that he draws a green card. Maybe I'm getting confused with that, but I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm mistaken. But regardless, he can pick up another card too, so he's amazing, man. And I really don't have much else to say. But if you go up against this guy, you probably want to lock him in with Bardock and then switch out to a yellow character or something, and then just take him out because that's one of your best scenarios. Because if you let this guy run rampant with his cover, it's going to be annoying. It's going to be a problem. So moving on from there, this is actually one that a lot of people might disagree with, and I understand why, because he's the only character in the game that has this much of a high risk, high reward, because everything he does is really, really powerful. He does a ton of damage. He's insane, right? But he also, at what cost, right? You know, the whole Thanos meme, like, what did it cost? Everything. That's kind of how this Goku feels, right? Because you play with him, and he costs you so much HP. He burns so much HP, but at what cost? Well, if you played it right, if you were lucky, you had the right scenario, you had the right matchup, you soul boosted, whatever the case may be, the cost is he took out the opponent before he went down himself. And he's one of the only characters in the game that is able to output as much damage as he does. He's immediately one of the best melee characters in the game because of his spam abilities and the damage that he outputs. So off the bat, he has a really solid key restore speed. That's something that cannot be overlooked, as well as the critical chance stat. So otherwise, moving below, Swift Bout, plus 20% to damage inflicted. There is no discrepancy between strike or blast. Plus 20% to damage inflicted for 15 timer counts. Increases arts card draw speed by 1 level for 15 timer counts. So he's able to, again, pick up cards faster than the opponent. The definition of this move, like the name of the move, is very fitting because it's Swift Bout. He's doing more damage, and he's able to pick up cards a lot faster. And, you know, this guy would be insane if they didn't change the way that we drew cards back in, like, a month in the game, where you don't draw cards or recover key and things like that while moving, while dashing, while using a strike arts. Because you used to actually get those cards midway through, and if he could do that, he would legit just solo anything, pretty much, you know, and that's insane to me. But otherwise, he's able to pick that up, and you can use this almost immediately. After 5 timer counts, you can use this. This is a really cheeky way of saying you do it immediately. As soon as the battle starts, you do it. So amazing ability right there, main ability. Assault, all costs, minus 10 to own arts costs from battle start for 20 timer counts. So I talked about this in my initial breakdown of these characters, but there's a window where these overlap, or you can make these overlap, and it's insane. If you basically start off with him in there. Now, the only issue with this ability right here is that because it's from the battle start. So if you're not actually using him, every second that he's not actually fighting is time that you're wasting and not being able to use these reduced cards. So for clarification, these Super Kamehamehas drop to being 40 energy. You know, the other cards lose 10 cost as well. It apparently says it doesn't work on Ultimate Arts cards, but he doesn't have an Ultimate Arts card. Like, so that doesn't apply to the special, because from testing and playing, unless it was supposed to apply to the special, it does not. But it seems like it would either apply to this, because I don't really ever use this with him, just going to point that out, or the other one, that if you were to pick one up. But I imagine that it's probably this now that I think about it, because the game does weird. It's saying weird things, because even he's saying he draws an Ultimate Arts card, or special arts card. I don't know. I get confused with all that. Clarify for me in the comment section down below. Doesn't remove validity from what I'm saying, but I get confused. I'm not going to lie to you. But anyways, he's able to spam cards. He's able to do increased damage. He's able to draw the cards faster. But at what cost? Minus 5% to own health for each arts card used. So that's where he kind of falls off for a lot of people, because they don't want to use a unit that hurts himself. But in tandem with a character like Krillin, with a character like Piccolo and things like that, you can heal him up, and you can continue to use this guy's busted abilities. Now, as the battle goes on longer, he stops being as good because he's no longer able to get the reduced arts cost. And also, ultimately, he's no longer able to do Swift Bout. So if the battle goes on too long, he basically doesn't do anything special. All he does is hurt himself, which at that point, he's probably, aside from the base stats, you know, the ability to output damage so respectably well, he's probably one of the worst Sparkings in the game if you get to that point. So again, I understand. I understand, but I felt like it was worth putting him on the list just because of what he has potential to do. Also increases his own strike attack, and just like the Bardock, you know, unfortunately he only does it for yellow element, but there are Saiyan tag supports and things like that you can use. Oh, you know, I remembered earlier that there's the Extreme Goku. I knew there was another one, man. I just remember that earlier I talked about, like, when I was going over Bardock or whoever, that, you know, I think there was 3. Yeah, it was this guy. He was the last one. I know somebody pointed it out. Forgive me. Anyway, so yeah, that's how this guy breaks down for me. I think he's amazing. I think that there are scenarios where he's not as good, though, so I will kind of put that out there. Broly, I don't really need to cover Broly because we've known him as basically being the monster of the game. So drawing an ultimate card, again, is insane. Like I mentioned earlier, any character that can do one of those two things is immediately one of the best in the game, like Android 18, for example. Not getting it mentioned in this list. You just saw me skip over her, but she can draw a card, and that is amazing. Broly can force your opponent to switch out, which is insanely dumb. With his green card right here, and he also at the same time increases, you know, his own key restore speed, causes enemy to have minus 15% key restore speed for 15 timer counts every time character enters the battle. So he forces them out. He also can stop them from being able to restore as fast. Like Broly is such a great strike unit, but such an amazing utility unit too. Plus 20% to own strike damage for 15 timer counts when faced with a Goku. So up against a red Goku, he just obliterates that guy. The good news is more Gokus keep coming out, so the more Gokus that come out, the better the Broly gets. So not really going to cover it much more than that, but you guys get it. He's insane. So the last character that I will cover, it pains me to skip over my Krillin. Like, it really does, actually. But Piccolo, man. Like, this guy, okay, and I've always said Piccolo is one of the best characters in the game. I've always had people either agree with me or disagree with me on this. And I've had a lot of people I know and, you know, people that think the same way. And this character right here, right, it cannot be understated how good he is, actually. And I don't want to spend too much time covering it, but really just he has the defense that you need to survive in this game. And that's how it breaks down. Restores all allies by 25% and cures the abnormal conditions like bleeds and stuff like that. He gets rid of it. First and foremost, that's insane. He also can basically do it for free upon the switch because he has, I believe, the best cover, you know, percentage reduced in the game. 50%. That's dumb. That's really dumb. Like, he just takes half damage from everything they do until they're done comboing. So you want to spam all those cards? You want to launch 5? Well, they all did half damage. How do you feel about that? And then after that, I get to immediately use this, assuming that I did it at some point later on, of course, because you do have to, you know, do the 15 timer counts, and then just regen all that back, and I probably regen a character that needs more HP, like the Goku we were talking about earlier. And to make it even worse, he has a tag for anti-Saiyan. Like, anti-Saiyan is dumb, because the whole game is Saiyan, pretty much. Like, you know, there are good characters like the androids, like I talked about, 17, sure. But the game will, one thing that will always be a constant in this game is that it'll always have Saiyans. So any character with this will always be relevant. And I believe Frieza also has that too, just for reference. Any character with, yep, there we go. Blast damage only. But still, any character that has this, well, Piccolo too, actually. It's the same thing. It's just Frieza's is 20% stronger. It's the same thing. But yeah, any character that has this will always be relevant. It will. I'm sorry. Like, if you don't like Piccolo, that's fine. But he's too good. Like, the utility is amazing, and he's basically the best in the game at what he does in general, right now anyway. So I didn't want to take that spot from him, and you know, this really was epitomized and validated when we saw the list in the game where they were like, oh, these are the most popular characters in Legends and the most used characters. In fact, I can show you that before we get out of here. These are the most used characters in Legends right now, and they even went through and showed off everything. So let me go ahead and it's probably right here. No, it's not. It's right around here somewhere. We're going to go ahead and just pull it up as our last point, and then we'll kind of close out the video. But thank you guys. I appreciate the support. If you've heard all that you need to hear. Here we go. So right here, right? Popular sparking rankings, popular character rankings in respective rarities, data calculated from players of battle rank 40 or higher, right? In space-time duel number 4. So that, of course, was the last season. We have to wait a little bit to see how this breaks down again. And who's number 1? Piccolo. Like, and for good reason. Especially because he hard counters Broly. Which I'm surprised Broly's rank 5 when, you know, he was only on 1 banner so far. And everybody else has been on like a million freaking banners. But, again, can't understate it. So that's how I break it down. I think other characters are amazing too, even though they didn't make my list, like Cooler. The ability to destroy arts cards just is insane. It's actually dumb. There are a lot of characters in here that are really good, but ultimately I had to key in on 5, so that's how it breaks down. Have an awesome day. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I will catch you all in the next Dragon Ball Legends video.